What's going on, people? We are back with episode number 13, Conscious Approach Podcast. Dave De Niro G, JV wins here once again. Hopefully, everybody is staying safe while you self quarantine during this Rona situation. Rona is out there wreaking havoc on the world. And to y'all people who down there in Miami on the beach, even though they telling y'all to stay away from each other. If Miami sees a surge in positive cases, I'm gonna personally blame y'all because y'all need to get off the beach. Stop being an idiot. God, like y'all just don't want to listen to nobody when they tell you something, but then get mad when something happened to you. People are dumb, but that's another subject. But we got a lot of downtime, so we got more time to talk about certain things. This story is actually several weeks old, but it was a pretty interesting thing to see the reaction, the way people were kind of handling it, talking about it, discussion around it. So we figured we would revisit it because it's something that's good for our platform and our audience, which was the situation around Dwayne Wade, who publicly backed his son deciding to undergo, I guess, gender identity change. So his son's name was originally Zaire, and I guess he decides that he wants his name to be Zaya. Notice how I'm still referring to him as a he. Mm-hmm. He wants his name to be Zaya, no longer Zaire. He identifies as a woman, and there was a whole discussion around values and family and acceptance and tolerance and parenting and all of these ancillary conversations that were going on. Mm-hmm. And so we figured that we would touch on that because we had a couple things that we wanted to say. But you wanted to kind of touch on that because of what was going on, certain things that you kind of observed and wanted to kind of speak about.
Yeah, as I mentioned to you, Dwayne Wade is my favorite player of all time.
Yeah.
And, when I heard the news, and let it marinate for a couple of days, I respect everybody and they, the life you choose to live, that's on you, you know what I mean? But there's certain things that I just have questions, and I guess some people say can't have all the answers, but I just feel like certain things with this situation, like I firmly believe if you're a boy be born a male, you're a male. Vagina, penis, I think those distinct qualities make you who you are. And, Dwayne Wade being, a high profile athlete like he is with the influence he has, not only is it a big thing, I guess, for his kid per se, but it's a big thing for, society and the people that watch because, unfortunately for some, fortunately or unfortunately, however you see it, for some, he is a role model, and for some people, model after that. And I think that there's an overline when it comes to society that I'm concerned with that seems to make people not see the beauty in for who they are. Mm-hmm. And so, I just have questions like, what is it that seems to make people want to be everything than what I would say God created you to be? You know what I mean? And I just don't know how at 3 years old you can realize something about your sexuality. I don't even know that to me, so it's hard to fathom at 3 years old.
Well, he's not 3.
But Dwayne Wade said his son knew at 3 years old. Uh-huh. And
that was when he was like, I noticed that he wasn't on that boy vibe.
Yeah, he said his son knows since he was 3. Mm-hmm. And I just think, for him to even say it, to me, it just seems a little far-fetched out there when I hear it. I don't care who it comes from, because I think at 3 years old, I don't think nobody's thinking about their sexuality like that. So, I guess for me, I am a little, I guess I could say disappointed, but I don't know Wade personally, so to say I'm disappointed, but, he's been my favorite player all the time, and me not having a father in my life, you know what I mean, growing up, single mother, I just think, we need more strong men, regardless in the world, but we need more strong black men. Mm-hmm. And, I guess I would hope to see that Dwayne Wade feels the same way, but obviously he doesn't. And he said he had to get educated about the situation, but I'm a firm believer that parents should lead the way, and not children.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people support and say that, oh, he's doing what he's doing, or you don't tell him how to raise his kids, and I get that. But society should be who we are, man. You should be who you were born to be, and I firmly believe that. And I don't know why, as a society, we are so susceptible to just. I know this whole liberal, like, be who you are, be free, but I mean, if you're a man, you're a man. If you're a girl, you're a girl. Scientific things about you that just makes it that. But nonetheless, I'm not here to judge Dwayne Wade's son. He can be who he wants to be. That's fine. But I just think there's a more concerning situation as a whole to people, not being comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah. It's a couple of ways to tackle this. So first, I'm gonna just say this to the people out there that showed overwhelming support for his decision to show support to his son for wanting to sort of, undergo that, transition in terms of his gender identity. I think what disturbs me the most is not necessarily that, but the fact that we now live in an America, and you hear the word divisive being thrown around a lot. And the problem that I have is that we kind of live in an America that is divisive from the standpoint that diversity of thought is no longer accepted. Mm-hmm. And a primary issue that I have with this is you get people on TV, like when news broke and the pundits and commentators are talking about it on ESPN. A lot of the people who are in support of a lot of this, and they're, ESPN, in my personal opinion, over the years has become hyper liberal in terms of the various voices and personalities that they allow to become prominent front and center on TV and on the radio. They, for the most part, speak in a singular voice. There's a singularity to their commentary. And it's a tone of hyperliberalism where tolerance and acceptance is of the utmost priority. And if you don't see it our way, then you are the one with the problem.
Yeah.
And we have a problem with you, and we're going to criticize you and chastise mm-hmm. you because you don't see everything exactly the way we see it. And an issue like this with, an issue that we still don't understand, because I'm inclined to agree with you. I believe in nature, and nature dictates certain things. And who are we to go against nature? But above all else, this is this issue of, gender identity and sexual identity and all of that. We don't understand it still in 2020. It's very murky. And because I came up the way that I came up, and I still, cling to several truths based on my upbringing, if I look at a situation like Dwayne Wade and I say, I respect the fact that he wants to support his son undergoing that transition, but I don't agree with it, I don't think that I should be chastised for that. Definitely. And I think that in this day and age, I wish that we lived in a country still, or that we had a society where there were platforms for contrarian voices like that on ESPN and on TV, but we don't have that. Mm-hmm. And you can't tell me that there aren't people amongst the ranks of ESPN who don't agree with that, not because they're zealots or intolerant or bad people, but just because the nature of this is complex and we don't quite understand it. And so if I don't necessarily agree with that call, I should have the freedom to be able to say that without all of these hyper liberal commentaries coming for my neck. Gotcha. And that is what I found most disturbing about this, is that there doesn't seem to be a safe space for contrarian, more conservative voices to voice themselves without being demonized for their opinions. Gotcha. And that's a problem that I have. Now, to speak specifically about how I feel about the whole thing about the Wade family, how Dwayne Wade chooses to lead his family is his business. I don't care. I don't care about his son wanting to be a female. It is of no concern to me. I don't give a damn. I really don't. And other people who feel so inclined to voice their opinions about it shouldn't care either. Those are private matters.
Yeah.
But since it's in a public sphere and we're talking about it, I'll go ahead and just say, as a young black man, I am as socially liberal as one can imagine. But there are still certain aspects of my personality that cling to conservatism. And when it comes to economics, so my money, and when it comes to family values, I have conservative ideology. I do. And I do believe in the notion of a patriarchal household, of a man and a woman raising a family. And if one is raised a woman, if you're raised sexually as a female, I'm going to socialize you that way. 9 times out of 10, you're going to grow up and identify yourself as a woman. It's just the way the world is. Yeah. It's the way nature is. Yeah. You don't see female lions exhibiting male lion characteristics. No. That's just not something that you see in the world, in nature, until you get to us. And I believe in the notion of a patriarchy. If I have a son, I'm going to raise my son and socialize my son to be a male. And he is going to grow up and identify as a male as a result. And so the world turns. That is my prerogative. That is how I choose to do things. Leave me the hell alone. If you don't like it, you raise your family the way you want to raise it. And you live with that decision. Yeah. But I can guarantee you that I find it highly unlikely that any of my children, should I have them, are going to have any of these identity questions or issues, because I think that we're dealing with a matter of socialization. Yeah. And, so long as you gear your children in such a way that they are socialized to identify with the sex in which they were born, then they are going to live their lives that way. It's very simple. Yeah. But we live in a world where everyone has an opinion and everyone wants to say you're wrong because you don't think that this is okay. When it's not about okay or not okay, it's just about differences. I would choose to do it this way and you would choose to do it that way. And let me just say one more thing to a lot of y'all out there. A lot of you, commentators and people with platforms on the internet who live in this rainbows and unicorns world where I think, therefore I am, and therefore everything is okay and everything is wonderful and happy. You can have that opinion if you want to, and that's fine. But just because you believe that you're on the side of righteousness, it doesn't give you an excuse to be so dogmatic in your opinion that you want to chastise and demonize someone else who doesn't agree with you. That kind of stuff just kind of sticks in my craw. I don't like it. Gotcha. So, you might think that acceptance and tolerance, LGBTQ, X, Y, and Z, and whatever other letter that we come up with, because it's going to change in another 24 hours when we add another category to it, further confusing the situation. But you might be on the side that's like, oh, it's all okay. Let's love our children. Let's love everybody. If the kid thinks that he's a lion, let's support his decision to identify as a lion. If the girl wants to be a man, let's support that. All is okay. All of that's well and good, and you can harbor those sentiments. That's fine. But just because you think you're on the side of righteousness, it doesn't give you an excuse to be intolerant towards those who don't have your opinion. Thus, you label them as intolerant, and that's really not the case. They just don't agree with your form of thinking. We're talking about social and cultural values, and people are entitled to have those. So just because I don't necessarily know that I would be okay with rearing my child in such a way that they can identify with whatever sex they choose to, doesn't give you the license to criticize me because you think that everyone should be as accepting of everything. And as I said before, there should be ample room and opportunity for people to express their viewpoints, so long as they're being sensible and reasonable in such a way that it doesn't cause everybody to just kind of come at everybody with all of these harsh criticisms.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem that I have with all of this.
And yeah, that's one of the things I always said. I just don't like how, it's fine. You can do what you want, but if you don't agree, like you said, people get mad at you. It's like it's almost trying to force it on people.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. And I mean, even with I just question too, how most people, I don't have no kids, but, I'm pretty sure from what I heard, when you have kids, there's a joy in that. That's a kid, you know what I mean? You're happy to have so, I would think Wade experiencing that, you should feel that. So why would you encourage your son to do something that he won't get that experience? The only way you can have kids is by a man and a woman. There's no way around it. Like, you need the man and the woman to make a baby.
Well, I mean, as you can adopt it.
But that ain't the same. Adopt is good, unless you really, but it ain't the same as having a kid, man. You know what I mean? I just think there's a lot of, like I said, I guess I can't question it because it's the way he can live his life. But for me, I just think, we should have more questions. And like you said, it should be more concern that we are not trying to raise, we need, like I say, we need more men, man. We need, that's going, I feel like there's a lot of feminism going on with men today, man, and it's a thin line between just being culture and almost, and to me, I think that's a concern, you know what I mean? And we got people wearing purses almost, and it's just like saying being acceptive, and it's just to me, it's just too close to just saying, yeah, just be, it's okay to be this, and no, man, if you're born a man, you should be a man. You should be a proud man. You should want to do things that men do. If you're born a female, you should be a proud female and want to do things that female do. I think there's something, not as, I get it too, because there's situations and all this, it's deep. It's not like you just situation, environment that shapes people's mindset, but I think there's people, for whatever reason, people using certain things that might be traumatizing as an excuse rather than to find a way to fight and get over it. And so you let these things get in your mind and then you use that as an excuse to say, oh, well, maybe all men, and I'm just going to go be with a girl because I had 5 bad experiences with men, or, you might have been sexually assaulted and all that. I get that, but you just can't use that as an excuse to say that's why I'm like this. And so that's my concern. We need to preach. We need to be preaching more of how to build people's mindsets, how to show people how to deal with stuff rather than just showing people just, say go the opposite way. I just think that our society has gotten to a point where we just have adopted this, like I call it hyper-liberalism. It's just this, okay, if that's what you want to do, then that's okay with me, and we love you no matter what. And I agree with you. I think that there's a fine line between trying to obtain sensible ways to work through everyday human problems and just sort of relenting to, I feel, therefore I am. And I don't know. I think it's a complex issue, but I've just always had a funny issue with this whole I feel, therefore I am, and then the, subsequent mass acceptance of it from everyone who doesn't want to question it. And the people who do want to question it, they don't have a platform because they're just yelled at by all of the people who are on the side of support. And it's like there's room for everybody to live. Just, you can't be so dogmatic in your viewpoints towards other people just because you feel that you're on the side of righteousness. That's not right. It's not fair. But we see a lot of that with all of this. There's a lot of internet bullying. That's why I stay off these. I stay off the internet because there's so much bullying going on. Because let me go into a chat room or let me leave a comments. Let me watch a video about Wade somewhere, a content creator talked about it, and let me leave a comment criticizing Dwayne Wade. I have a right to do that if I choose to. I'm not questioning his, I'm not assassinating his character. I'm just respectfully criticizing his decision. Now, if I choose to do that, which I wouldn't, but if I were to choose to do that, I would get raked through the coals. But on the other side of that, if I show support, I would never get criticized by an opposing side, because the opposing side is sort of bullied into silence.
And that's the most uncomfortable part. That's what is most uncomfortable about this with me. But I agree with I agree with everything that you're saying. I think that we should be raising strong black men in our society to be able to leave a legacy for other strong black men.
Yeah.
And it's like we're going the other way.
Yeah, and like you say, bro, the biggest thing is like a lot of hypocrites. That's what we got. A lot of people who say one thing and then they do the other, and that's just like you said. People seem to criticize. They want to not if you don't agree, and it's just like, man, it's crazy. But at the end of the day, like you said, I'm not here to criticize the whatever. You can love who you want, be who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it's not fair for you to force your beliefs on anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you choose to be transgender, whatever, that's fine. That's your life you choose to live. Nobody's against that. But you cannot get mad at somebody for not agreeing with you.
Yeah.
And that is a problem. And on the side note, like you say, people are hypocrites because I got a little funny story. So it was on FSU handing out PVO flyers, and so I saw this white lady. She had on she said Black Lives Matter. Was Black Lives Matter shirt. She had that on.
It was a white lady wearing
Black Lives Matter
okay.
shirt. And so I'm like, hey, let me go talk to her and give her a flyer. I tried to talk to her and give her a flyer. And she was like, oh, really? I don't have the time. And I just found that was kind of funny. Like, you say Black Lives Matter here, but this black guy's trying to talk to you, and you don't have the time to hold the conversation.
Did she leave after she said she didn't have time?
Yeah, she didn't want to stop. She was like she wasn't trying to talk.
Maybe she really was in a hurry.
And then I seen her again like 20 minutes later walking in.
Oh yeah, she was avoiding the situation.
Yeah. So I guess I was saying that to say this, and this is what I got from that. Some people really do things just to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just so she because nobody's really gonna come up to her and question, but she wants to be the lady who walks around on FSU campus saying, have that Black Lives Matter shirt so she can be that.
Right. I don't disagree with that. We talk a lot about people who, like, on a whole, the masses we've collectively lost the ability to think for ourselves.
Yes.
We willingly submit to groupthink mentality. So I think it's entirely possible that a lot of people may not necessarily agree with what's going on with Wade and the whole transgender, the whole conversation around, transgender and, gender identity. It's an ongoing conversation. And some people might have, more conservative leaning views. Like, hold on, let's talk about this because some of this stuff is going a little left. But in order to fit in and not get demonized, they'll go ahead and submit and say, oh, everything is okay. We love everything. Yeah. And that's a problem. But it's like, you got two things going on there. You got people who are spineless and are unwilling to speak their truths. And then you have the people who will kill you for not being super duper, oh yeah, how can you not be tolerant of everything? And it's like, damn, like, where's the middle ground? Let's be reasonable. Yeah. When you start dealing with all of these absolutes, you're never going to reach a common ground. Mm-hmm. But people don't want common ground. They just want everybody to agree with them. Yeah. Yep. So, look, man, like, Dwayne Wade is your favorite player of all time. He's my favorite Miami Heat player of all time because I'm a Miami Heat fan. Yeah,
but Wade, I ain't gonna lie. I don't rock with you too tough like that, man. Not no move.
Yeah. But hey. It is what it is, man. It's just, I think the moral of this whole thing is we don't have the right to tell another person how to conduct raising their family, rearing their children. So you don't come to me and tell me that I'm wrong for trying to raise my children a certain kind of way or rear my children a certain kind of way. Yeah. You don't have the right to do that, and I don't have the right to do that. And just because you're on the side of, or you think that you're on the side of righteousness because you're all about tolerance and acceptance, it doesn't give you the right to tell me what decisions I need to be making with respect to how I raise my kids. Yeah. I don't have kids. I'm just speaking hypothetically. Gotcha. And so, I think that's the biggest takeaway is just allow diversity of thought. Like, if I believe in certain conservative values when it comes to raising kids and the family and the household, then let me be with that. And you shouldn't necessarily cast negative aspersions upon my character just because you don't agree lock and step with how I think things should be done. Just like I won't do the same to you because I don't agree with you.
Yeah.
It's just, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And to Dwayne Wade, man, live. You want to raise your son that way, raise your son that way.
Yeah.
I'm not finna call him a girl though.
No, and like hey, if you're a guy and you on that side, you think about leaning on the side of the fence, just get you some ooh wee, and you'll be all right. I'm telling you, that's the question. Just get some ooh wee, and then think twice about it before you cross over if you're a guy. You know what I mean?
If that don't set you straight, nothing will.
Nothing
will. Nothing will set you straight.
Like, hey,
nothing will set you straight if that don't.
Think twice about it. Think twice. Don't do it. If I'm just, I ain't gonna do it. But hey, everybody live their life how you want to live. Like you say, positive vibes only on this side. So whatever you do, I ain't gonna knock it. But I ain't trying to, be around it if I don't support it.
I got it.
But, live
your life. Living your truth, man. You should be respected for that. Yeah. So, So on that note, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Be sure to follow us on consciousapproach.com. All relevant content is on the website, written and video, as well as all of the social channels. Conscious Approach on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at JVWins. You can find Dave De Niro G on Instagram. Be sure to check out pvoapparel.store. He is expanding the PVO brand, man. Check it out. A lot of nice gear promoting positivity. Check it out, man. And Instagram at pvo.apparel, right? Yeah.
That's your nice little PVO shirt.
Yeah.
pvo.apparel.
Yeah. I got one. I'm about to order a backpack as soon as I get off this video.
Secure the bag.
Yeah.
But it's fun, man. Appreciate it. And, hey, man, for real, live your life, though. Find your happiness.
Yes. And until next time, we will sign off. Keep it logical.
Can I hit it with a TikTok?
Yeah, that's you. You by yourself. On that note, keep it logical. We are out.